The Voices of Lough Corrib is an interactive digital storytelling project developed through a collaboration between Limerick School of Art and Design, Corrib and the Polyphonic Documentary Project, and grounded in the polyphonic methodology that Judith Aston and I have been developing over a number of years. The project is inspired by the idea that places are never defined by a single story. Lough Corrib is ecological, historical, emotional, political, and deeply personal all at once. Different communities encounter the lake through very different experiences, through work, memory, recreation, heritage, environmental activism, music, folklore, or everyday life. Rather than presenting one documentary narrative, The Voices of Lough Corrib creates an interactive space where multiple voices can exist together. Digital storytelling becomes a way of mapping relationships between people, landscape, memory, and cultural identity. This project is less interested in linear storytelling and more interested in creating an exploratory encounter where audiences actively navigate connections between stories, places, and experiences. This is where the idea of polyphony becomes central. Polyphony allows different voices to coexist without forcing them into an agreement or a solution. Meaning emerges relationally through contrast, resonance, tension, and dialogue between perspectives. One of the most important aspects of the Voices of Lough Corrib is its participatory nature. The project is built directly from content created by the people who live around, work with, and interact with the lake in their everyday lives. Rather than speaking about communities, the project creates a space where communities can speak from themselves through their own creative and personal expressions. When visitors enter the project, they first encounter the main menu with the song 𝗔𝗯𝘀𝘁𝗿, performed by 𝗔𝗯𝘀𝘁𝗿, a local fiddle player. From there, four interactive pathways appear at the bottom of the screen. 4. Heritage, environment, water, recreation. These thematic islands operate almost like story currents flowing through the lake itself. A viewer might choose to remain within one theme, perhaps following environmental concerns around biodiversity and conservation, or they might move fluidly between themes, allowing unexpected relationships to emerge between stories. For example, a memory about fishing traditions might connect to concerns about water quality. A recreational swimming story might open into reflections on local folklore or climate change. A musician speaking about the emotional presence of the lake might resonate with an environmental scientist discussing ecological fragility. This movement between story islands is extremely important. Rather than progressing through a fixed sequence, audiences create their own pathways through the material. Each interaction produces a slightly different constellation of meanings. This nonlinear structure mirrors both the ecology of the lake and the complexity of community experience itself. The interface, the work currently consists of over 60 videos contributions from members of the local community surrounding the Lough Corrib. These include documentary interviews, spoken word pieces, songs, reflections, experimental video works, animations, and personal responses. Importantly, the project remains open and evolving. This is not a finished archive frozen in time. It is a living participatory platform, a living community archive. Viewers are invited to contribute their own responses to the central question, how do I interact with the lake? And contributions can take any creative form and can be recorded using any type of camera or device, creating a genuinely democratic and accessible space for participation and self-expression. No single perspective dominates. Instead, the lake itself becomes a connective presence, almost a living archive around which voices circulate. And this is ultimately what the polyphonic methodology attempts to achieve, not simplification, but coexistence. In a time when environmental and social issues are increasingly complex, contested, and interconnected, projects like the Voices of Lough Corrib offer a different way of engaging with plays. The project does not ask audiences to arrive at one final conclusion. Instead, it invites them to allow complexity, to encounter difference, and to discover how stories overlap, diverge, and speak to one another across the shared ecology of the lake.
So this project needs to be seen to understood, so I'm going to walk you through it. It's called Voices of Avonmouth. It's a sister project to Lough Corrib, coming out of the Polyphonic Documentary Project. I'm at the University of the West of England. I've collaborated with a team to make this project. I didn't do it on my own, and we collaborated with the community centre in a village called Avonmouth and with the 7net social enterprise community that links businesses and community together. It's a tool for dialogue. This is a proof of concept how interactive documentary can be used in workshop settings, in community screening settings, in libraries as a tool for dialogue in these polarized times. So, and the big difference with the Lough Corrib project is that the material, the film material we gathered wasn't co-created, because when we went into the community and we said we'd like to do something that sheds a light on your community and shows how much you're doing in this estuary area for net transition, how much heavy lifting you're doing for the rest of the city, it's a community that feels lost and forgotten. They said, well, we'll do the talking, but you can do the fancy stuff. You can make the documentary, you can show us what it can do, and we'll tell you if we like it. And luckily, people do seem to like it, and it seems to work. So this is the estuary. There you have a lot of industry, a lot of warehouses. There's a lot of brownfield that's being ploughed up and turned into either waste distribution centres, green energy production, or distribution warehouses. So the project has 3 sections. Find Your Way tells you about the project, its collaborative nature, about the place, and about how the interface works. Meets the People just briefly shows you the participants. We did ethnographic interviews with a number of people who engaged with the community centre, from local residents, long-standing incomers, business people, change makers, like Rachel, who's the community centre manager, the director of the port, one of the directors of the port, and Luke, who is a community grower, Judith, who runs the food bank, Kate, who runs 7net. So they're the people. You can click on those and you get little 1-minute clips kind of introducing them. But the main thing I want to show you is the conversation, which is divided into 3 sections. Living in Avonmouth is about everyday life in Avonmouth, and the clips that we've put into dialogue with each other are layered in place, placemaking project. Making a difference is people talking about what they're doing to make a difference within the community in the here and now, both people from within the community and external change makers. Looking ahead is more the visionary stuff. So the idea is we're trying to kind of shift the conversation, but we're trying to show what life is like in Avonmouth now, so that people in the city have a better understanding of Avonmouth. It can improve dialogue, both in Avonmouth, between residents and businesses, across into the city, with policymakers and change makers, and just the general public, so that people have more appreciation for everything that Avonmouth has to offer. So living in Avonmouth, it works. There are 6 thematic areas. You can click on one and then you go in, and then you will get short clips.
And there was one time when a lot of people didn't even know that people lived in Avonmouth. They thought it was just an industrial place. I can remember when they were going to build this flyover, and we had the doctors come down to say about the children, affecting the children with the fumes. And someone from the council stood up and said, well, where do these children come from? And we said, well, they live here. And they didn't realise that people actually lived here. They thought it was just an industrial area.
Okay, so that kind of establishes the agenda, you know, lost and forgotten. We live here. Can we be taken seriously, please? That's put into dialogue on, this is a theme around identity. It's about felt experience. It's not telling, it just comes out through the clips.
It just feels special in some ways. I feel it's like a well-kept secret in some ways.
So there's this huddle of life surrounded by really key, massive players in.
And then you can go up, you can go around. So there's 100 clips in total in this piece. So it's 100 hours of content. Obviously, you're not going to see it all in one sitting. We can show it and start a conversation and then share the link for people to explore more in their own time. But it is, we want to curate that conversation as well, rather than just give a disembodied clip that could increase polarization and increase, it needs to be a spirit for generative listening and using it in the right context.
For the industrial area.
It has been quite a negative environment, I would say.
My husband died with COPD, you know.
No, nature is very, very important.
I'm not a scientist. I don't know all the facts and the details, but I know if I've got my hands in the soil, it's great.
Okay, so you get a sense, there's all these different voices and perspectives. So it's not one single story. A community doesn't have to speak with a single voice. It's about respect for difference. It's about creating an environment for proper listening and for respectful dialogue.
So I know.
So that's how we're using it. And just very briefly, we go up to the other sections and there's more clips about making a difference and looking ahead. So here, these are full screen clips of different perspectives on the future, and you get a huge range of perspectives, and there are visions, and this documentary is contributing. So Kate, she wants this area to be an absolute model for what a just transition could look like, that, you know, thinks about environment, thinks about business, and brings the community along with it. And there's a lot of potential. There's lots of brilliant people trying to make a real difference, and it's quite a special place. And I'm still doing field work, and I find engaging with this community is giving me a lot as well. And I know that the other people that I've been making this film with feel the same. And yeah, we want to share it as a proof of concept that could be applied elsewhere, and let us know what you think. Thank you.